That's Maria D. You are here with Just Maria D. I do apologise. I know that I look teary. I know that I look like Rudolph. I am not feeling particularly well today, but in the purpose of getting my Thursday vlog up, I thought that I would come and say g'day. Something that I am going to try and do once a month is talk about one of the books that I have been listening to. I say listening to because more often than not these days, I like to listen to audiobooks rather than read an actual book. Now, I'll always have an actual book on the go because there are just some places and sometimes that you need to be able to take a book with you. I have found that my lifestyle suits audiobooks the best. And so Audible and I are quite good friends. But more recently, BorrowBox and I have become good friends because our local library has started to use BorrowBox for its audio library, and so I've been able to access loads of books for free, which has just been amazing. For those of you who are new to my channel, you may or you may not know that every year I choose a word for my year. Lots of people set goals and lots of people make resolutions. For me, I have found the most effective way to think about what I want to get done or how I want to live or what I want to make changes to in my year is to choose a word. And that doesn't mean to say that there aren't goals that come off that. There certainly are. And there are certainly resolutions that are made as a result of that word. But it's what it does is it gives me a coat hanger for my year, and out of that flows all kinds of things. So my word for 2018 is purpose. And recently, as I was scrolling through the BorrowBox library, I came across a book that caught my eye, and it's called Life on Purpose. There we go. By a gentleman called Victor Strecher. I'll read you what it says on the blurb. Your life is a boat. You need a rudder, but it doesn't matter how much wind is in your sails if you're not steering towards a harbour, an ultimate purpose in life. While the greatest philosophers have pondered purpose for centuries, today it has been shown to have a concrete impact upon our health. Recent studies into Alzheimer's, heart disease, stroke, depression, functional brain imaging and measurement of DNA repair are shedding new light on how and why purpose benefits our lives. Now, bearing in mind, I didn't know what this book was about. I just chose it based on the title, Life on Purpose. I was scrolling through and I went, click, I'll have that one because it has the word purpose in it. So I was pleasantly surprised. I felt that it was quite serendipitous, really. Going beyond the fads, opinions, and false hopes of expert self-help books, The Science of Purpose explores the incredible connection between purposeful living and the latest scientific evidence on quality of life and longevity. And I'm assuming what that means there is more often than not, in our modern world, we seem to be pointed towards this concept of happiness as being the thing to pursue. And so what this book does is it looks at happiness and it looks at purpose, and it talks about those two things and how genetically we are more greatly impacted in a positive way when our happiness is built on our purpose. Spoiler. The Science of Purpose explores the incredible connection between purposeful living and the latest scientific evidence on quality of life and longevity. Drawing on ancient and modern philosophy, literature, psychology, evolutionary biology, genetics, and neuroscience, as well as his experience in public health research, Dr. Victor Strecher reveals the elements necessary for a purposeful life and how to acquire them, and outlines an elegant strategy for improving energy, willpower, long-term happiness, and well-being. He integrates these core themes into his own personal story, a tragedy that led him to reconsider his life, and how a deeper understanding of how purposeful living helped him not only survive but thrive. Illuminating, accessible, and authentically grounded in real people's experience, The Science of Purpose is essential reading for anyone seeking lasting improvement in their lives. Now, if you are after a book that helps you find your purpose in life, this is not the book. Like, just keep walking to somebody else's book because Mr. Strecher's book is not for you. If you want to examine why we do what we do and why we should be mindful about what we do, then this is a really good place to start. The thing that I love about this book is that a wise man once said, without vision, people perish. Both philosophy and science have been showing that in actual fact that we do start to perish when we don't have a vision and a purpose for our lives. And if not perish, then our lives can certainly be negatively impacted. I like the fact that it looks at the science behind purpose, it looks at the science behind happiness, it looks at the science behind willpower, which is incredibly fascinating, because if you are somebody who is trying to do anything in your life that requires willpower, exercise, lose weight, stop smoking, stop drinking, changing a habit that is annoying you and you know that is in some way is detrimental to your life, then what he has to say about willpower is just fascinating, and how without purpose, willpower is almost non-existent. He not only just makes these claims, he backs them up with science, which I think is really helpful. I like the way he also explores philosophy. I love the fact that he is willing to ask questions, and not just ask the questions and then leave them out there hanging, but he then turns to science and say, okay, our philosophy needs something to hang itself on, and so what can you tell me about these big questions that we're asking? I really love that. I really love the fact that he has chased that down, that he hasn't just said, all right, I've got this thing and I'm going to call it purpose and I'm going to do it. He's gone, okay, what actual benefits is there to my life? If you like to keep an open mind about your ideas, if you like to be challenged about your ideas, if you like to have your worldview mixed up, turned around, put it back together in a way that still leaves you feeling authentic to what you believe and you inherently hold dear, then I would recommend this book. I am somebody who likes to think philosophically. I like to ask questions. I don't always know how that fits back together for me. I am done with the days where people tell me what I should think and how I should think it. I want to reconcile all of that with my very core beliefs and values and the things that I believe are true for my life. How do I think that this book will help me? It didn't walk me through any kind of step-by-step program for figuring out what my purpose was. But what it did do was reaffirm, I suppose, something that I have always known to be true, that purpose is important, and without it people start to perish. It gave science to that and talked about how and why, and some of the effects that not having a purpose and thinking about your purpose across the whole of your life, not just, career, not just family, not just health, but thinking through who we are, holistically, and the effects that has on our lives. I wanted to try and pull apart some of the things that I was feeling about this book. I have to either renew it for another month or give it back tomorrow. So I really wanted to pull it apart a little bit before I did that and send it back. One of the things that I really liked from a philosophical point of view is, and a concept that I hadn't come across or hadn't learned about before, bearing in mind that Joey and I do a philosophy class once a month, was a concept that Aristotle introduced called eudaimonics. Eudaimonics, that's right. And how eudaimonics and hedonic pleasure and happiness affect us, and how important it is to make sure that we have our building blocks right. They were words, they were concepts I hadn't come across before in our philosophy. I am going to link below an article that talks about how our genetics are affected by our pursuit of happiness, essentially, for lack of a better term. How we pursue happiness, what we base our happiness on, whether we are just in it for absolute pleasure and hedonism, or whether we are in it for purpose and living a life based on ethics and morals and values, the difference that makes genetically and health-wise in our lives. I think it's a fascinating read. It's quite a short article. I printed it off. It's only 2 pages long, but I found it an absolute fascinating listen. I hopped onto Goodreads today and I left a review, and I was kind of disappointed that some of the reviews didn't really understand, I think, the concept of the book and what it had to offer and what it stated that it was offering. I think they expected too much from it. For me, it had the right balance between science and philosophy and fitted quite well with my already established worldview on how important it is to have a purpose, how important it is to to have a spiritual element to your life. For me, it's my faith in God. For others, like Mr. Strecher, he takes a more meditative view of life, and he talks about that. He uses some great, even Christian voices to talk about spirituality as well. I know Dietrich Bonhoeffer is one that he mentions and talks about some of his journey and some of his thoughts as well. If you don't mind having your mind stretched and your views challenged, or you are looking to frame your life with some purpose and understand its importance, both philosophically and scientifically and medically in our lives, then I think that this is a worthwhile book to read. The other thing that the reviews said was that he does talk a lot about diet, he talks a lot about exercise, he talks a lot about meditation. So the things that have had real impact on his life in terms of purpose, you can take or leave those sections. I listened to them. I personally wasn't offended. I personally didn't think that they were a waste of time or space, as some reviewers said. I just took them in my stride with everything else, and the bits that stay with me will stay with me, and the bits that, you know, aren't for now will fall away. And I just think that that's, you know, that's kind of how life is. So yeah. This is my first rambly, not very well nose drippy book review, and yeah, I just know that that's a thrilling thing to look forward to next month. So thank you for being with me. Thanks for joining me today. If you are a chatty kind of person and you like thinking and perhaps sitting down with a cup of tea and thinking this woman has no idea, let me write a comment and tell her that she has no idea, and hit the bell, hit the notification bell, and yeah, we can waffle through life together. I've been Maria, you've been awesome, and I'll catch you Sunday for that weekend vlog. All right, bye.